Welcome to a new episode of A Walk in the Park. My guest is the wonderful Raza Qadir. Hello!
Hi!
Thank you for being on.
Thank you for having me.
You want to take a walk in the park?
Let's do it.
Let's go take a walk in the park. So last week marked Eid,
Yes.
which is the breaking of the fast, the end of Ramadan.
Yes.
Can you give us, if possible, a brief rundown on the reason you fast?
So Ramadan is actually the name of a month, like January, February, and March and so on. It's the name of a month. Everyone knows the basics. No eating, drinking, or anything to ingest from sunrise to sunset. So when the sun is out, we can't have any drink, water, nothing.
But was there ever a part of you that just goes like, why?
So my parents thankfully explained to me, if you don't want to fast, if you're not going to hold it properly and do it the right way, don't do it. It's not for them to be happy. It's for ourselves. It's for more self-growth. One thing you can say right off the bat is we are lucky to be in this country, in this Western Hemisphere, in this continent, that food is always at our disposal, drinks at our disposal. It's not a problem. This is not the case in the majority of the world, unfortunately. Look at certain countries in Asia and South Asia and Africa and so on, that food is sparse. A lot of people don't know what they're going to eat the next day. We need to have that. It's sort of like a Thanksgiving, like you have. You're thanks for what you have. We tend to take that a step further and be thankful for what we have and really feel for the pain of the other person who doesn't have.
By the way, Raza is Muslim, in case you didn't catch on yet. I don't know, in case they're like, oh, he's Protestant, okay.
Talking about fasting.
So nobody's forced to do anything.
Contrary to popular belief, there's no force in our religion. You can't just do it because we told you to. That's why we have so many stipulations, so many rules.
I think that, you know, any face coverings, headgear.
That's more of a cultural, of a family, of a, I don't know, a geographical situation where they're raised in, which situation they were. They could have been forced into this, unfortunately, of certain widespread things. As you see the veil, you see the face veil. This is all not part of the religion in terms of one must do this. It's an interpretation of the religion.
So the main point for people to take away here is that culture is different than religion.
Exactly.
Because you got, you know, Russian Muslims.
There's 1.3 billion Muslims in the world. We cover all of North Africa to Middle East to South Asia and beyond, like in Russia also. So they have their little, even Chinese Muslims. You have your culture, which you cannot leave because you've been brought up in it, but you also have your religion, which is a part of life. It's a way of life. Some cultures are easier to assimilate with the religion, and then they go through it, and some don't. For example, in Saudi Arabia, women in 2019 are still not allowed to drive automobiles. Sounds amazing, eh? In this day and age, not to drive an automobile just for the simple fact that you're a female. But that is based on a cultural practice in Saudi Arabia.
And if they decide, I'm going to rebel?
They do get punished, unfortunately. It's very unfortunate. That's just a very clear example of culture mixing in with the religion. Now, unfortunately, the Western media, being North America or European, will see this and they'll blame the religion right away, being a quote-unquote Muslim or a Muslim majority country, which is upsetting to the other Muslims who like to follow the religion the right way.
You are Indian as well.
Yes, I am.
All right, so Indian Muslim. We're gonna take a complete turn from here, okay? In October, we aired an episode with Mona Mirabani.
Yes.
And this is what we were talking about. Cast the director named Harry Kondabolu in November 2017 came out with a movie called The Problem with Apu, where he basically says that Apu is not a great character. He does not represent Indians well.
Considering it was 30 years ago, of course we've come a long way since. To keep it up today is a little touchy.
Which I understand. But how dumb of a person do you have to be to think that that's what an Indian is? Okay, so in October, the Simpsons character Apu, everybody was debating, should he stay, should he not stay, because he's a misrepresentation of Indian people. So since then, they faded Apu out. And you know, I said back then, well, you know, there's the Italian chef who's always like, that's a spicy meatball. There's a crazy Scottish guy. They literally tackle every kind of culture.
Right.
Does it bother you?
Yes and no. It's a double-edged sword there. Simpsons started in 1989. It's the longest running sitcom in primetime TV. Times have changed from the 80s to 90s and beyond. In 89, obviously I was much younger, I wouldn't understand the significance, but if you ask somebody my age in the 80s and 90s what they thought of Apu, an Indian person, they would be offended. I would have been offended also. We did not have representation on TV and film that much, and when we did have representation, it was a stereotypical with a heavy accent and the same stereotypes that you would relate to an Indian person. But on the other hand, for the comedy factor, I do understand if you laugh along with it, it's good. If you laugh at it, it's different.
Well, that's it. Because if what you're getting out of it is every Indian owns a convenience store and talks in that accent, that's partially on you. Not just the TV show, because you could take anything away from a movie or a TV show. You know?
Right.
If there's gun violence and you kill the bad guy, guns solve everything. You know, I don't know if it's a little bit of a stretch to be saying that.
No, it's what the viewer takes away from it.
So where would you draw the line? If you said Apu should remain.
Apu became a little blatantly prejudging the Indian nation, because in this day and age, well, the past 15, 20 years, we have some representation, be it Middle Eastern or Indian or South Asian descent, that are good quality. Like you can have your comedian Russell Peters, your local comedian Sugar Sammy from Montreal, born and raised. Be it second generation, but they can represent their people now. I thought the best thing would be not to fade him away, but to keep him, let him talk, but like give him some purpose, some sense, not just standing behind the counter of a quickie mart.
But you know what I got out of Apu? And this is true. That he was a vegetarian. And I learned.
See, that's another.
That you never eat the cow.
But that's only for a certain type of Indians.
Oh.
That's it. I'm Indian. I'm a meat eater. That's for the Hindu religion. The majority religion in India are Hindus, and they are vegetarian. So it's good. It actually creates dialogue. Just like how you said right now, I just learned something that Indians are vegetarians, and I responded by the fact.
I don't get all my information from The Simpsons, by the way. I just want to be clear. But as an 8-year-old, I saw Lisa wanted to be a vegetarian. She goes to see Apu because people are complaining that she's not eating meat, and Apu's like, well, listen, I don't either.
I like that. That creates dialogue and creates a little. You can open your mind, you get questions, you want questions to be asked, you can answer those questions to clarify things for misinformation. This is the best form of media, I feel.
You're a parent with a child on the autism spectrum.
Yes.
Walk me through that. Your son is born.
Yes.
You find out when?
So, my son is born. As a newborn, obviously you cannot see any symptoms. He's hitting his milestones, crawling, then walking. His physical milestones are being met. Then around the 18-month stage, my brother-in-law, who is a physician, we were visiting at their house one time, and he was doing some type of rocking back and forth and flopping his hands. Now, me and my wife, as a parent, thought that was a cute little dance he was doing, and we're laughing at that. Oh, that's nice. My brother-in-law, on the other hand, was very concerned, and his face said it all. We asked him, what's up, what's wrong? And he's like, you should get once you go back home, I'm not saying anything, but please see his pediatrician and get these things tested out.
And as soon as you get the diagnosis, your first thought is?
Oh no, why me? Or why us? As any parent would be, your children are the most cherished things you have in your life. And I did not know anything about autism. I had no idea what autism really was, because I didn't have any family, friends, or anyone in my environment that had children or that were on the spectrum. So I had to first learn, me and my wife had to learn what was ASD, the autism spectrum disorder. What is it? What does it entail? The spectrum being very wide, from high functioning to low functioning. Unfortunately, my son's on the low functioning side right now. So, for example, he's non-verbal. He has never spoken a word. He has the mental capacity of someone with less than a 2-year-old. So we're still raising him like he's like 18 months, 2-year-old, but he's a 9-year-old boy with a 9-year-old body.
And some of those challenges I can imagine are just
everyday challenges: getting up, taking a shower, taking a bath, getting dressed, eating. Everything has to be done for him, pretty much.
But people-wise, because there's a
social stigma with this, obviously. Our social life has changed drastically. We have sitters, special therapists who are sitters that take care of him. When we go out for dinner to someone's house, him in a social setting, if it's a social setting, that's in a house with people that he knows familiar to him, he's okay. But he does get a little antsy and has an anxiety and gets frustrated when he's in a bigger setting. Taking him to a shopping center, for example, to the mall, to a movie theater, to outside in the public, we cannot.
Well, there's sensory issues that must come with that. Yes, of course. People reacting to him, if you had any...
I'm a first generation from Indian descent. The certain cultures are not open to certain disorders, or not aware of, or not educated on. We had another obstacle, me and my wife, of explaining to our family and friends and people around us what autism was, what he's able to do and what he's not able to do, and what kind of treatments or therapies we can do. That was another hurdle, because they had no idea what this was and why this happened to their grandson or nephew or cousin and so forth. So that was another whole obstacle of educating everybody around us about the situation.
So what experiences have you gotten out of it? Because you definitely don't live the same life as, people.
No, we have a different life. We adapted slowly. Now at this point, with him, his diagnosis at the age of 2, he's 9. It's been 7 years with this type of life. So we're fully adapted. Me, my wife, and my daughter, which is an older sister, and our immediate family. Challenges are good and bad for us in terms of growth process. I've learned a lot of things through my son. My family's gotten to accept, love my son as he is. The whole "oh no, why me" phase was gone. He's presently in a public school sector of the English Montreal School Board at Peter Hall. It's a semi-private public school, privately funded by the government, but public for the student parents.
Can the government be doing more, by the way? Just because you mentioned them, and
yes, there's always space for more. Just for the simple fact of autism is being more, it's widespread now. There's more and more cases. Now in 2018, a year ago, stats, 1 every 100 boys born in Canada is on some sort of spectrum. As opposed to in my day and age, we had 1 out of 1,500 or 400. The need for more help, the government should respond. I started on the public sector. I was on a waiting list for diagnosis for 2 years. I could not wait for 2 years. 5 months in, I got a psychiatrist, psychologist to privately diagnose him and put him in private therapies. Did pay from our pocket, but it's our son who wouldn't do it for their children.
It's all trickled down, right?
There's more demand, supply and demand. There's more demand for services, you should supply it.
And with that, Raza, thank you for being on. It's been a pleasure, and I hope everybody learned something new today. So thank you for being on.
Thank you for having me.
That's a wrap.